Hello and welcome to OLT 322, a clip on Lecture 5 about Claude McKay. Claude McKay was one of the greatest poets of the Harlem Renaissance, and his main themes are suffering and alienation. Alienation, in case you didn't know, is a feeling of not belonging, and usually it's caused by the behavior of other people not accepting you. In this poem, If We Must Die, as you've seen in the course material, it's about fighting back, standing up instead of being passive. He turns racist language against the whites by characterizing them as animals. The poem makes a call to his kinsmen. The persona in the poem calls out to his kinsmen to join him. And this is a technique which draws a common parallel between the suffering of the persona of the poem, the one who's experiencing what's happening in the poem, and the extended community, the family, and other African Americans. It's a unifying technique. The poem also emphasizes the nobility of his people, and in this way rebuilds a history which was destroyed by slavery. The poem finally implies unity against a common foe. And this message is universal, such that even Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, recited it over the radio during World War II. The poem Outcast shows the poet's alienation and a wish for a history, a past that should be his, but as we've seen, slavery stole away. The West is shown as a prison, and Africa symbolizes peace and a life opposite of the oppression of life in the West. The poet is sad and feels helpless, but the poem reveals a process of self-awakening, self-discovery, of the self-consciousness which will lead to a desire for freedom, as we saw with Frederick Douglass. It shows that blacks are trying to find out who they are in history. It's important because how can you know where you're going, or where to go even, if you don't know where you are from, or even where you fit in? These are issues which all of the writers are dealing with in the course. As with Frederick Douglass, the poem Tiger shows the system of oppression dehumanizes both whites and blacks. In the White House, we see how discontent and anger, instead of spoiling the persona's life, can be controlled in order to remain proud and courageous. In fact, he must not give in to his anger, or he will become just like those who oppress him. This is a hint of nonviolent resistance and an example of realizing that acting on anger, even though the anger may be justified, it will only hurt him. And finally, we see his poetry goes beyond race and focuses on human suffering, and as such, unites all peoples around the world. I don't have any comments about exams about Claude McKay because everybody understands him well. I think he's very direct and very clear. So well done for that. In the next lecture, we'll talk about Langston Hughes. So have a nice day and see you then.